let's dive into your Google Analytics account, timestamps below, along with some other helpful resources, including a link to our free UTM builder. More on that in a little bit. Now for this guide, we're going to be going through Google Analytics 4 and Universal Analytics. And so the reason that we need to go through the two different versions is because the new version, Google Analytics 4, doesn't have all of the tracking features that you would want, namely your UTM parameters. And so if you're not quite sure what UTM parameters are, that's okay. We're going to go through them in incredible detail in the last section because that's where Google Analytics really shines. And I will also link up in the description to a video to installing both versions of Analytics if you only have one version right now. So let's go ahead, jump into traffic sources, because this is the best place to start with analytics. And if you do nothing else, this is the one part of analytics that you're going to want to look at. So source and medium is something that Google Analytics will set up for us, and it will tell us where people are finding our website and links, and then what type of traffic that is, via whether that's just organic traffic, you're running paid ads, or you're doing some sort of referral or affiliate promotion. Campaign and content, I'll get to in a moment. That's something that you actually have to set up yourself using something called UTM links. So we'll jump into Universal Analytics. And if you don't have Universal Analytics, you just installed it and you only have 4, that's totally okay. This is something that you'll be able to easily set up for yourself. So let's go ahead and jump in because I want to show you how powerful this is. This is where I spend 98% of my time in analytics. So we'll come over here to acquisition, and then we'll click on campaigns, and we'll just go to all campaigns. And of course, we'll have some data here, but what we really care about is this table right here. Now in the last section, I'll go through exactly how to set things up so that you have a nice list of all of your promotions or all of the links that are important to you. So just think of this as a way to organize the traffic that's coming to your website. So as an example here, I have something called UTM-GA-Builder. That's our free tool in the description that allows you to build links so you can have a nice looking list like this. And so what I can see is over the past 28 or 30 days here, there have been about 48 people who have clicked some sort of link related to this lead magnet that we have or this product or offer that we have. Now here's where things get really cool because we can come over here to secondary dimension, and I just want to show you how this works, and then we'll go through how to actually build it out. And then we can go ahead and search something called add content. There's a lot of things here, but add content is where we want to start. So I'll click on add content, and now all of a sudden I can see the exact video that someone clicked to find our UTM builder. So you can see here add content M50. So this is one of our YouTube videos on my personal channel. And you'll see here that all 48 clicks came from one video. And then if I come down here, you can see that we have sales funnel map and sales funnel map. And we can see M16, and then we can see free tools. So instead of just seeing all of the traffic that came to the sales funnel map landing page, I can say, hey, 6 people came from M16, and then 4 people came from free tools, which is a page on our website. And so there is a lot that you can do with just this, and this doesn't require any coding whatsoever. So when you stick around to the end, I'll show you exactly how to build these links, because when you can see precisely the exact web page, the exact video, blog post, Facebook post, or place where someone came and found your website, marketing becomes super easy. Like there's no guessing. If I want to promote this more, I should make more videos like M50, which I think was just about UTM links, but I digress. So let's go ahead and jump into Google Analytics 4 so you can see the same data there. So now we're in Google Analytics 4. How do you know the difference? The bar on the left-hand side. So if this is what your screen looks like when you first log in, then you're on Google Analytics 4. So here we're going to click on acquisition. So once we do, we'll click on traffic acquisition here, and then we'll see a bunch of traffic data, and we'll just scroll down to the table. Like I like graphs, but the tables give us much more information in a much easier to read format. So what we have here is a list of sources and mediums. So What on earth does this mean? The source is pretty self-explanatory. That is the actual website or platform that someone came from. YouTube, Google, blog, or youtube.com, which is just makes it confusing because you can't put these together. There's some things that you can't control. So we'll just add 5 to our 582 here for YouTube, right? So then we have medium. And so what medium tells us is what type of traffic it was. So you'll see all of this is organic down to website and referral. So organic essentially means that someone is just browsing Google or they're going through Facebook and they find your link and they click on it, right? So totally normal. And then if we had something here that said paid, then that would let us know that we were paying for ads. And so that's all the difference is. So we could have YouTube organic, we could have YouTube referral, and then we could have YouTube paid, which means we were paying for ads and referral. I wish I could tell you exactly what that means, but Google Analytics isn't exactly consistent with what referral means versus organic, right? And you can see Facebook referral down here. So sometimes you are going to look at this and say, I just don't know what that is. And that's totally okay because the rest of us are doing the exact same thing. When we look at this and go, why is this referral and this organic? Because unless you are using UTM links, Google Analytics will make decisions for you, and we're not always going to know what the rationale was for those decisions. Now, the reason that you need to use Universal Analytics is this. If we click on the button here, we go to acquisition and we go first user campaign, we can see our campaigns just like we saw in Universal Analytics. However, right now, as of the recording and posting of this video, you can't go any deeper. So when we go over to Universal Analytics, what we went through first, we could actually see the exact video, the exact blog post, web page that someone came from. Unfortunately, here, this is as much detail as we can get. We can only see the campaign. And telling you from personal experience, this is pretty much useless. Like this does not help you at all. So you do need to have both versions until Google finally gives us the information that we need inside of Google Analytics 4. Again, in the last section, when you stick around to the end, or here's the timestamp, if you just want to skip to it, we'll go through exactly how to set up your tracking links so that you can have all the detail you need to know where people are coming from and how they're finding your website. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into prospect demographics. So we're going to go through all of the things that you don't need to have a developer on your team in order to do. So this is where we're going to look at the type of devices people are using and where people are coming from and who they are. So let's go ahead and jump into Analytics 4. I'm going to use Analytics 4 for the rest of this tutorial. So let's go ahead, jump back into our Google Analytics 4 dashboard here, and we're going to click on demographics, and we'll just jump to demographic details. So here you can see that we have the countries, and then we have a scatter plot of countries as well. I'm just going to jump down to the table. I like looking at data in tables. If you're a more visual person, then you can actually start playing with these tables by adding comparisons, but I won't get into that here. So we have our list of countries, and if we click on the plus button here, we can actually add cities. And so now we'll see the top cities. Of course, unless you're getting thousands upon thousands of people today, like this doesn't really give us much data to go off of, right? Like knowing that 17 people came from London or 16 people came from New York, like that's not really going to help us make a decision. And so for the most part, it's nice data, but it doesn't actually help us. So I highly recommend just staying at the country level because that can help you figure out where most of your customers are coming from. Of course, I'm based in the States. So if we were to go back, United States is number one. Now, scrolling down this list, you can see that now we have 2 and 2 and 2, right? Like this data is nice to know, but it doesn't let us make any decisions. And that's what's really important with analytics. There's a lot in here, but there's also a lot that's not really going to do anything for you. It's nice to know, but this isn't going to help us make a strategic decision on what type of content to make or how to optimize our website. Now, something that would help if it was here is if we click on age, we should be able to see some general demographic information of the age of people who are visiting our site. This works in Google Analytics Universal, not in Google Analytics 4. So I'll click on this plus button again, and we'll go to gender. And we also have no information. So your install is not broken. It's just not here. And hopefully within the next year or so, we'll actually be able to get all this other information. Interest is another interesting one where Google will actually give you some groupings of the different types of people who are visiting your site. And that can be helpful because the groupings that they show here are the same groupings that you can target inside of Google Ads. So if we say, for example, I know one of them would be, savvy shoppers or something like that, then we could go into our Google Ads account and target savvy shoppers because apparently that group or demographic of people finds value in our content. So that is all there is to it with the demographic information in terms of who is visiting your website, more like where they're visiting from. So let's go ahead and click on tech here and then tech details. And for the most part, you just want to know what devices and browsers people are visiting your site from to make sure your site is working correctly in those browsers. So this is much more important if you're an application. Like if you have a standard WordPress site or you're using one of those page builders like Wix or Squarespace or something, which I highly recommend, don't recommend, but I almost said highly recommend, which I really don't recommend. That's a rant for a different video. Then you don't really need to worry about this too much because as long as you're responsive, you're going to be good to go. But you can click on device category here, and then you'll see desktop, mobile, and tablet. Now for me, I hardly get any mobile traffic, so our site just performs terribly on phones because we hardly get anyone who catches us on their mobile device. So let's go ahead, jump into audience behavior. So now that we know who or where people are visiting our site from, now let's start to look at what they do once they're on our site. Now, this is where a developer or an expert is going to be very helpful in setting up things like custom events, helping you calculate lifetime value, but we won't get into all of that. We'll just look at the things that we can see with a standard install of Google Analytics. So back into Google Analytics 4. So we'll jump back into our interface here. We'll click on engagement, and then we will click on events. And once we do, we'll see here that there's a page view, user engagement, scroll, start, first. And again, this is one of those areas where it's not really going to do much for us until we set up some custom events. So I'll scroll down to our table here because I like the tables. And you can see that these are different events that have been set up for us. So every time someone views a page, every time someone scrolls, or they're a visitor for the first time, Google Analytics automatically tracks that for us. Pretty cool, but it's not really going to help us all that much until we start adding some custom things. And so there are some great video tutorials here on YouTube that are over an hour long, like hour or two, that go through exactly how to set this up on your website. So we won't get into that. But just imagine for a moment if we added an event like purchase or joined email list, similar to what we're going to do with UTM links, you can actually start to really see exactly how people are flowing through your website and what they're doing on your website, which is actually something we can do without setting up these events. So we'll go ahead and click on pages and screens, and then we'll scroll down again. And these are the most trafficked pages on our site. So when you see 100 not 700 not set, that's not good news. That means that there is some sort of tracking problem, and Google Analytics doesn't actually know the page. Now, this will happen a lot if you use page builders. So as an example, we have a main website, and then we use MailerLite for all of our landing pages. So there is some broken tracking there that I definitely have to fix. But for the most part, you'll actually be able to see some of your top traffic pages, and this will just help know what your most popular pages are. And that's the information that you'll get out of this one. Now, when it comes to retention, there is a lot of information here that can help you understand how people are actually engaging with your website and then your average retention overall. And I'm just scrolling through these quickly because for the most part, you really don't need to look at this. Like going through your pages and screens is going to be a whole lot more helpful. So while retention is a nice thought, I wouldn't recommend spending too much time on it. It's one of those data overload situations. So let's go ahead ahead and jump over to one other thing that we should point out. And when you start getting into creating some custom events, you're going to want to take a look at audiences, and you'll definitely want some help setting this up, because this is where you're actually going to be able to start creating some different custom lists of people based upon what they've done on your site, like purchasing or joining an email list. And that gets into remarketing. So we'll go ahead and skip that basics for now and jump into leads and actions. So if you're getting some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Now, this is one of those areas where you are going to want to start to change how analytics is actually set up, and you're going to have to add some custom things to your website in order for these to work, but we'll just go over them relatively briefly, and then we can get on to building our UTM links, which does not require us touching any code. So I'll click on engagement and conversions here, and once you do set up conversions and events, this is where that data will show up. So just mentioning it here, it's a whole nother mess in and of itself, and between you and me, I have developers on our team do this because it can be really, really confusing. Although YouTube University, after 6 or 7 hours, you will get there, right? So if you want to grind your teeth out through that, that's totally something that is doable without becoming a full stack developer. Now, in terms of events, when you click on events, they're going to be the same events that you see under pages and screens. So I just wanted to point that out. There's nothing new or special here. The events that you're seeing is the same that we went through pages and screens. So just to help with what data is where, this just allows you to take a little bit of a deeper dive. So now let's talk about optimizing your tracking, because this is going to be the next step after we've gone through all of the different things inside of analytics. This is where you want to start, because this is how we transform all that data into actual information. All right, that's a little corny, so let's go ahead and go on to what on earth is going on with this link. So chances are you've been browsing around the web for a while, and you've probably clicked on one of these links and looked at the address bar and gone, what on earth is all that extra information? Well, after UTM here, there is a bunch of information that we can give Google Analytics so that we get exactly the data that we want and need to make better decisions. So let's go ahead and break this down. So we'll jump in here. Now with the URL, these are things that you're going to add on after your URL. And so instead of sharing just this basic actmarketing.io UTM builder, you're actually going to share this super long link. So here's what's going on. Now, first up, we have UTM source, and this is going to be the actual platform or website people are coming from. So social platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, or you're going to be looking at a blog, right? So then we have campaign medium. So this is what type of traffic is it? Is it affiliate traffic? Is it referral traffic? Is it organic, or is it paid? Organic and paid is pretty much what you're going to be using. The others are a little more advanced. And then we have the campaign name. This is something that you're going to set up yourself. You're going to say, hey, you know what? When someone hits this page on my site, whether it's a landing page or a sales page, it is part of selling this product or this service or this campaign. So in this particular instance, we have the campaign name at DTM/UTM-builder, or not slash dash. And these should always be in lowercase. And of course, it's a URL, so you can't just put spaces in between it and make it look pretty. Then we have campaign term. For the most part, I recommend not using this unless you are running PPC ads or pay-per-click ads on a search platform like Google, like running basic Google search ads or Bing ads for some reason, right? And then we have campaign content. This is where you define the exact post or ad that is being used. So when it comes to what your standard should be, here's an example of some of the ones that I recommend using. Now, there is a link in the description to check out our UTM builder, which actually has these set up for you. So all you have to do is drop in your information and you're good to go. If you don't use ours, you can also check out the free UTM builder that Google offers. So if we go to Google, search UTM builder, and you can go ahead and paste in your information here. And through the magic of editing, we'll just drop in our same information here, and then we have a link that we can copy. Now you can go ahead and use this free tool. I highly recommend you check out the link in the description to grab a copy of ours, because you'll be able to save your defaults, and it will be very, very easy for you to quickly make these links. And that way, when you go through your own traffic data, you look at your own campaigns inside of Google Analytics, you will know the exact blog post, video, ad that is actually contributing to your bottom line. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you have a much better picture and understanding of what on earth is going on inside Google Analytics and how it can actually be helpful to making decisions, and maybe more importantly, the data that you should be ignoring. So hit that like button, download the UTM Builder via the link in the description, and until the next, keep building the business you love.